The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands when they come to take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when they signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain wrath, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up to fight for my freedoms and rights. That's the price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight in your life like the fight that you're itching for.
Good evening, this is Judge Rusty Johnston, and this is Armed Alabama for June 6, 2017, D-Day, 1944, June 6, 1944. The forces of the United States, England, France, Canada, the French partisans, and I guess Polish partisans and all the other and sundry forces known as the Allies were hitting the beaches at Normandy. Armed Alabama is the only firearms-based FM radio talk show that originates from the great state of Alabama. We broadcast from the studios of FM Talk 1065 in Mobile, Alabama, which is a 50,000-watt powerhouse. It's the number one news talk channel in the Mobile, Alabama media market, which is a huge media market stretching over the southern third of Alabama, the northwest part of the state of Florida, and the southern third or so of southwest Mississippi. This is retired Alabama Circuit Judge Rusty Johnston. I'm also an NRA small arms instructor and certified by the NRA in pistols and revolvers and personal protection in the home. My co-host is normally here tonight, Adam Strange. He is tied up at work, and I told him we need you making the money at work, so don't rush. If you can get here, you can get here. If you're fine, if you can't, you can't. So we'll be surprised in a little while. Tell you a little bit more about me because some of my producer here says, new people listen all the time. I was admitted to the Alabama bar in 84. We thought, remember, 1984, something was going to happen then when we all read that book.
Because of that book.
Yeah, because of the book. But nothing did. Practiced law for 14 years here, was appointed as the first Republican circuit judge ever in 1997, and then due to the kind of the quirks of the election cycles, was elected 4 times over the next however many years, served a total of 18 years. During that time, I served 10 years as the director of the 13th Judicial Circuit Court Police. Part of that time was for 9/11, and that was a lot of fun, I'll tell you. Adam Strange is a NRA certified law enforcement instructor, and I'll let him give you the rest of his bio. You never know what somebody wants to give and give out. He is a married man. Let's just put it that way, as I am. As I've said, we're broadcasting on Mobile's number one news talk channel, FM Talk 1065. We're also on Facebook Live. If you have access, if you're a Facebook member, you don't need to have liked our page, although we would like you to like our page because then you'll get a notice when we go live. But regardless, whether you've gotten a notice or not, in your search box where it says search Facebook, type in Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5, and that will take you to the page. Scroll down, and sometimes you'll see what appears to be like a frozen video. You might have to press the play button, and it'll start. Now, it's not TV quality, but it's pretty darn good. On the playback, it's a lot better. I'll have a show and tell a little while later, so, if you have your druthers, if you're sitting at home and can get on Facebook, do that. Might want to remind you, we didn't push this really at all, but the NAPPY Awards, we are semifinalists to be one of the, best radio talk shows. Check out the Lagniappe, because I can't recall right now what else you need to do. You need to vote, actually. They have a ballot. And vote for us if you think we're worthy of your vote. If you're on the line and can't quite hear us, I'm coming in and out, you can hear us worldwide over the internet at FM Talk 106.5, 1065.com, or at armedalabama.com/radio-show. And both of those will give you the simulcast of this radio show. Here we talk about pistols, revolvers, shotguns, rifles, concealed carry, ammunition, training, and attacks on our God-given right to protect ourselves and our families. You'll get no Marxism here, no PC, and you'll get no progressivism, and some topics may not be suitable for delicate flowers out there. If you're looking for NPR's All Things Considered, you need to turn your dial way over to the far left, right around Radio Beijing. right over there. The Romans had a term, the laws permit the taking up of arms against the armed. And if you were in Great Britain or the United Kingdom, in London particularly, last, it was Friday night, you darn sure would have wanted to use one of your arms, but our forebears, the nation that gave us our laws, they have disarmed their citizens, so they couldn't fight back.
Yeah, and just imagine, Judge, if one person had a firearm on the London Bridge when that truck came off the road and started running down the sidewalk. That could have ended real quickly with a whole lot less loss of life.
Oddly enough, that happened at one of the venues in Paris that was attacked, year before last. The person with the gun didn't even hit him, but I'm going to tell you some techniques that you can really disrupt a terrorist plan, because terrorists are like bullies. When anybody stands up to them with force, they're counting on sheep that are unarmed. And if someone is armed, one person with a gun can totally disrupt their plans, and then the SWAT team or whoever's responding can come. I mean, the people that came got there in a remarkable amount of time. If you've ever been to London, it's just so crowded, so many little streets. Got there in 8 minutes, which is amazing. But, when seconds count, the police are minutes away. And to people being stabbed with a knife, seconds counted, and they didn't make it. I assume England's laws are just like ours. The government owes no duty to protect you and your family. So even if they say, "Hey, we will come," just let us know. That doesn't create any duty on their part. I want to thank Buck Allen, who sings, cut that great song for us that we use in our promo. Go to his Facebook page, Buck Allen, or on Facebook, Buck Allen. Go to his Facebook page and like it. He's a great singer-songwriter from around here. I want to thank some of our sponsors, if I've got the time, and that would be McCoy Outdoors, and they are at the Spring Hill Plaza Shopping Center, and that is on Spring Hill Avenue, just west of the I-65 overpass. And you can go to their Facebook page and like them as McCoy Outdoor Company, or their regular website, McCoyoutdoorco.com. Grayson Air Conditioning, boy, get your air conditioning going. It's getting hot right now. Now they're at 7200 Cottage Hill Road. They're open every day, and their website is www.graysonairconditioning.com. David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota Superstore. They're at 470 Schillingers Road in Mobile. And www.palmerstoyota.com. I'll get to the rest of them after we step into the break. Our phone number here is 251-343-0106. This is Armed Alabama, and call or text into that number, and we'll get it here. We're going to talk about terrorism and what you as a citizen can do with a firearm to disrupt, stop it, or at least slow them down.
And, Judge, it's time to get this conversation going.
I'm ready.
Give us a call. Clint was a little slow there, but...
All right. Well, we've made everybody's day, I hope, by being here. This is Armed Alabama. I'm Judge Rusty Johnston, and Chris will be right with you on the line. Let me just finish thanking our sponsors, the Ace Hardware stores, the Spring Hill Ace Hardware. That is at the Spring Hill Village Shopping Center at 4363 Old Shell Road. And you can get to their website, www.springhillace.com. The Moffett Road Ace Hardware, 7380 Moffett Road, and that's Mobile, Alabama 36618. And you can get there by going to MoffittRoadAce.com and the Creola Ace Hardware and Lumber, and they are located 10041 US 43 in Creola, and that you would exit 19 off of I-65, and that obviously is in Creola. It's on your left as you're going north, and their website is creolaace.com. And Mike Ward's, we welcome Mike Ward's Liberty Safes. They're our new advertiser, and they're at 961 West Interstate 65 Service Road North, and that's Mobile, Alabama, and phone number is 471-1137. Their regular website is just remember, MWLiberty.com, Mike Ward's Liberty.com, MWLiberty.com. Or their Facebook page is MW Liberty Safes Mobile, and you just search for that. And we've got Dr. Justin Foster at Foster's Chiropractic Clinic, 4400 Rangeline Road, and Mobile, Alabama, 661-2100. His website is Foster's, Chiro.net. And then we have the law offices of Matt Green, and he is down at 501 Government Street. We thank Matt Green for that. And let's see.
And Judge, there's one other thing I wanted to add real quick. Yeah. One thing I like about this show is that individuals, you don't even have to have a business. We obviously love quality business advertisers too, but individuals who believe in the Second Amendment and what you and Adam are trying to do with this show,
and you may not
can support
you may not
the effort.
Sell anything at all. Like Matt's not selling anything at all. You may be in some business, but you just want to support the show and put some advertising.
And you can do that without being made public if you wish.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you about our chats in a minute, which turned out real well. But let's see what Chris in Chickasaw has to say. Hey, Chris, you're on there.
Hello, how are y'all doing today?
Fine. How about you?
I'm doing great. I hope y'all can answer a question of mine.
We like people to try to stump us.
All right. Okay, I am 30 years old, and I'm currently trying to get a better career job for myself, but I have an old misdemeanor from 6 years ago, and I'm just going to try to file a pardon for it.
Okay.
What are my chances of getting it, or should I try to go a different route with it? Because it's really hurting me. I'm trying to get, a better job, because I've been turned down a couple of times because of it.
The problem with receiving a pardon is that is still going to be on your record forever. Your arrest will be on the record. The fact that you were booked will be on the record, and the fact that you were pardoned, or are you going for a pardon or an expungement?
I'm trying to go for a pardon because they said that since I already pled guilty to the misdemeanor, it couldn't be expunged.
Okay. Yeah. Do you mind telling me what the misdemeanor is? I mean, I don't know. Other than Chris, I don't know who you are.
Sure. Yeah, criminal trespassing.
See, in my book, the only ones that I would be concerned about if I was an employer are anything to do with theft or obviously any sex offense. criminal trespass, I can't imagine why misdemeanor criminal trespass, anybody's concerned about that. But
that's probably because they see what the arrest is, too, but the arrest wasn't what I was convicted of.
Yeah. That's the problem. It's not a pardon is going to take the conviction away, but, it won't expunge, it won't wipe clean the fact that you were arrested and you went to court and you were convicted, and then later you had received a pardon. So that's the problem. You're just unfortunately dealing with. I don't know that I'd want to work for the people that you're applying for if they're that ignorant of the fact. But I dealt with that all the time. That people. I think sometimes it's just an excuse. They don't like you, they don't need you, or whatever, and they figure, okay, we'll just latch onto that.
Give them an out.
Yeah, I think so. But
okay, I appreciate at least y'all hearing me out. It's just
that's how I always evaluated it. When crimes involving anything to do with being dishonest, lots of times people don't really get over that. What you're talking about, there are a million different scenarios that could arise under, but everything else, and I'm not talking about murder, obviously, but dishonesty-type crimes, theft, generally, those are crimes that tend to repeat themselves, and if you hire the person, they may very well steal from you. So,
right.
But keep trying and see what happens.
All right, man. Thank you.
Nice talking to you.
I appreciate y'all help.
Okay.
Judge, wouldn't the circumstances weigh into, for instance, let's say you have a family, you lose your job, your house is on the skids and all of that, and you go out and steal something in an event to get a little money somehow.
How about people who are found not guilty by a jury or the charges are dropped? I've had people tell me
that shouldn't even be on the record if it's null pros.
The only problem about not being on the record, and I understand what you're saying, is let's say that you were arrested for burglary and it was dismissed later, but there are a lot of sex offenders, I don't want to be too explicit, that'll break into a home to steal women's underwear.
Sure.
And you want to see a record of that string of arrest, so when he's caught later, you say, okay, this is a sex offender. He had, at 22, he broke into houses, and he had, you can kind of see if you erase those, you're not going to have that to go on.
Let's do one other quick general scenario. Somebody does time. Let's say they were in prison for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Does that mean that for the rest of their life they're not going to be able to get a job?
Well, no. And what's funny is
because that leads to recidivism.
Lee, that's with me a lot, he was in one of his jobs was placing work release inmates. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't a business he talked to that had a problem employing work release people because the employers knew if they don't show up, they get sent back to the penitentiary.
Sure.
They're guaranteed to be drug-free, blah, blah, blah. But oftentimes, after they were released, the same business wouldn't hire them because we don't want to fool with him.
But there's got to be some businesses out there that are willing to take a chance.
No, there are. I have actually had people that I sent to the penitentiary years ago, right? They're actually some of my Facebook friends that were on drugs, in fact, robbed a store, served time in the penitentiary, and they tell me the jobs they're in now, and I'm just amazed that some people are that resilient.
Well, you shouldn't have to have a life sentence for a minor crime.
Well, right, and we really, I tell you got to work to get into the penitentiary, unless your first offense is killing somebody.
Sure.
If yours is a theft, first degree, let's say, and you have no record, you're not going to go to the penitentiary. It's just not going to happen. We have these worksheets. I had them. I don't have to do them anymore. And then you basically total up points. How many times has the person been arrested? How many times has he been convicted? Has anybody ever been hurt before? And points were assigned. And if you get to a certain number, it says prison or not prison.
Oh,
now, you don't have to. You can deviate from that. but you're supposed to write a reason that you're deviating
Well,
from
it gives
that.
you an objective method for evaluating a sentence, I guess.
Yeah, other than, hey, he looks like a bad guy.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can take Mike, who's out in Saraland. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Judge, how are you, sir?
Fine, how about you? What's up?
I talked to you not long ago. I'm a guy that you got on private conversation with years ago when I was only on the jury with you.
Oh, yeah.
I got a question in this shooting that was done the other day on Stanton Road.
Yeah.
Why are we confined nowadays? I know it's the law and how it's written, but I can't get my hands or head wrapped around the fact if you shoot into a vehicle, there's one done just recently with a child in it, I understand, I heard, that you're only charged with firing a weapon in city limits and not attempted murder.
Well,
if you shoot at somebody, I think you had an intent to kill somebody.
Well, I'll tell you this:
you're not trying to kill the car.
Shooting into an occupied vehicle is a felony in and of itself.
Okay, why are these guys that they actually caught on the Stanton Road being charged with dispersing a weapon in the city limits?
I think when they're indicted, it'll be something different.
Certainly helps. I hear that a lot, and one of the jurors that I sit on, that was one of the main reasons that it went with Judge McVeigh, if you remember Judge McVeigh. We was a hung jury because the simple fact was that there were so many, the crime was so heinous, but the punishment or the charges did not fit what we all could agree on.
Well, that's right, and that's a perfect example. That's shooting in the city limits is when you go out in your backyard, it's New Year's Eve, and fire off some rounds.
Yeah, we should be totally against that.
Right. That's not attempting to assault somebody, attempting to kill them, or we have the crime made for it, shooting into an occupied vehicle. So, I would just be watching, because I think when it's presented, and I assume it will be, to the grand jury, they'll be indicted probably for that offense.
Well, would it have to go to a grand jury, or could the district attorney?
Well, if it's a felony, it'll go to the grand jury. The DA will present it. Yeah.
But doesn't there have to be an initial charge of something to hold them?
In order to arrest them, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to give NRA a bump. I just sent in my entry into the Win It All 21 weapons.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and
I've already won that. You wasted your time.
Weapons to you and let you go over with.
I'd love to. Good luck.
All right.
Take care.
Guys.
We got to step into a break, folks. 251-343-0106. This is Armed Alabama. All right. With Islamic terrorism, that has been in the news, and it is going to continue to be on the news because there has been a jihad against Christianity for almost 1,400 years. And, the Middle East used to be totally Christian. Egypt now is 9% Christian and falling. Just 2 weeks ago, 3 busloads of Christian pilgrims were ambushed. Some were beheaded, some were kidnapped by ISIS-backed people. These never get on the news because it's not politically correct to do it. Start following massacres of Christians in Egypt, Syria, Iraq. Nigeria is Boko Haram, who's pledged their loyalty to ISIS, is very vicious towards Christians. It's just part of what's been going on for 1,400 years. How do you stop it? Well, obviously, in this day of trains, planes, and automobiles, you can't do it by traditional means. You got to either be incredibly ruthless or you've got to set up a police state in your own country. And I'm not really for setting up a police state in our own country because foreigners are intent on wiping us out. What would I do if I was king of the world? If I was king of the world, I would tell, or maybe I'd send somebody that to give the message, and not lower myself to do it. like they did, like Trump, the group Trump met with a couple of weeks ago, and I would tell them in no uncertain terms, I just issue 3 demands. In 6 months, if there's another terrorist attack in any Western country that we can, and that includes the Philippines, they're a Christian nation. They have been fighting Muslim terrorists for years. If there's another terrorist attack, if you don't stop sending people to infiltrate Western nations, and if you don't stop the persecution of Christians in your own country, then without warning, there are going to be 2 Minuteman III missiles. They're going to hit Mecca and Medina, and they're going to melt them.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. And they understand force like that. They don't, when people come to them and beg, plead, or even worse, give them money, that's a sign of weakness. When you approach them with force, they respect force. And I think they would track down and kill the people that are doing this kind of thing.
You know, Rusty, there's another thing that bothers me, and Prime Minister May in England made the comment that part of the responsibility for this terrorist attack has got to lie with the internet companies that are providing the opportunity for the jihadists to coordinate their activities, to spread their poison. And I agree with that. What I don't understand is why aren't there people, and maybe it is happening, but I don't think so, or if it is, it's real low-key. Why aren't there people going on the internet extolling the virtues of democracy and freedom and what it's like to be an American?
I'll tell you what.
And start countering some of this poison.
It's much worse in Western Europe. They have lost their identity. They've lost their will to fight. The nations in Eastern Europe, particularly Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia is really in the middle, they're more pro, let's say, small d democracy than we are. They're pushing back both in their culture, both in their security. And, they had a referendum in, I think it was Czechoslovakia, it may have been Hungary, about accepting immigrants that the EU wanted them to accept. Mm-hmm. And I think the vote was right at 90% no. They're not going to accept any. They understand they have a unique culture. If you want to go to, let's say, the Czech Republic, you want to go see the architecture and the Czech people.
Sure.
I don't want to go to Baghdad when I go to Prague. I want to go see something unique. And if you're environmentalist, the carrying capacity of the United States, the amount of people the U.S. can support without totally destroying the environment is, guess what, 200 million. We've exceeded that. So you can't keep letting people in without totally collapsing the environment here.
You're not going to say the dreaded travel ban words, are you?
Oh, I would have a moratorium on any new immigration.
Period.
Yeah, for at least 10 years, and then we would have a comprehensive scheme like Australia to where we would have skills that we needed. You can't go in a lot of countries unless either you have the skill they need or sufficient cash to support yourself. And what we've got that is so unfair is if you're, let's say, an engineer in India that could bring skills to this country, he's waiting in line 10 years, 8 years, but somebody who can walk here, has no skills, can just walk here.
Yeah.
And that's not fair at all. So, and like I said, I don't want to turn our country into a police state. It's bad enough the way it is with, as much as I don't respect Jim Comey, one thing he did that I do respect is he said, cover up your cameras on your laptop. And he's the one that went to Attorney General Ashbrook and told him, hey, we think this violates the Fourth Amendment back right after 9/11. So you got to have people like that. But, unfortunately, with the eavesdropping and the NSA and et cetera, all of that, those liberties are just going out the window. Liberties that were developed, the ideas came from England, the very country where they came from. Charlie, they have been in the past, well, since 2010, so 7 years now, there have been over 1,500 acid attacks in London.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because you were sharing those statistics earlier.
That is a Muslim thing, primarily against non-Muslims, but also sometimes against rival sects, but where acid is thrown in the face of the victim. It first of all scars them, sometimes blinds them, and neighborhoods have become increasingly Islamified. Neighbors that don't want to move, next thing you know, they've got acid thrown in their faces. I've looked at a chart of different areas in London that 15 years ago, last time I went was right after, well, it was 2002, and they say it's changed so much since then, but areas then that were, let's say, 10% Muslim are now 75% Muslim. And because people, it's not that they don't like them, they just don't want acid thrown in their faces. But it's our weakness that is allowing that. It's our, quote, compassion. You know, Christianity has a lot of great things going for it. One of the things it has going for it, the reason there's so many Christian martyrs, is Christians, I think in the truest sense, if you're asked by, a communist, a Muslim, are you a Christian? We don't lie. We say, yes, I am, and then we're killed. Muslims are authorized to lie if necessary to save their lives until they can, seek revenge on who's ever tormenting them. We're not. It's an absolute religion. And it's, I was hoping by now that when we had a lot of secular leaders in the Muslim world, even though they weren't democratically elected, that's where they generally, somebody who's a military strongman, oftentimes you look at Latin America, was full of military strongmen 40 years ago. Mm-hmm. Now everybody is pretty much democratically elected. It's not the best, but, it's better than what they had. But the Muslim world's gone the other way. And,
and I'm going to say this, and I don't know if you and I are in accord on this or not, but one of the group of people that I feel for are Muslims living in our country who all they want to do is go to a job and earn a living and support their families and maybe have a few little vacation niceties once in a while and are not at all involved in this, but sometimes they're getting painted with that broad brush through no fault of their own, and that also makes resolution of this difficult.
Well, it does, and that's the reason why I can understand why, let's say, Iraqis that supported us in the war, when we pulled out, there was a security reason for them to, come back with us or they'd be killed. But for somebody just to be a refugee, why would they come to a Christian country? I mean, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
One, to escape where they are.
Well, to escape the poverty and all, but from a cultural point of view, why would you go into a place where
you're not compatible?
They're not compatible. They seem to despise what we stand for. And, if you don't like... We'll run to a break, and we'll be right back. Give us a call or a text here at the station. Sounds like he came back pretty quick.
Yes, he did.
He's already back. This is Judge Rusty Johnston with more of Armed Alabama, Alabama's only firearms-based radio show. In just a minute, we're going to do a show and tell, so if you can get on Facebook, go to our Facebook page. First of all, like us. We're getting close to the 2,000 mark, and oddly enough, the more votes we get, the more advertisers like us, And, all those things feed off each other. And we also have a YouTube channel that we upload neat stuff to there that you don't see anything else.
Plus past shows, don't you?
Yeah. All of the past shows that are on Facebook right now will be uploaded to YouTube usually within a week. And you can watch them, and they tend to be a little smoother on that. If you just want to listen to the archives or download them to whatever device you can play, let's say in your car, you go to the Armed Alabama webpage. That's just armedalabama.com, and we have an archive of every show that we've had in the past. You can download those, that's the audio, and listen to those in your car. And I tell you, it's a lot better than listening to the radio if you're driving to San Antonio or someplace like that. It's a lot less boring than just listen over and over and over to those same old songs and everything. That just kind of gets me a little bit. Now, if you are a person who is caught out, and let's say you think a terrorist attack is happening, and you have your wife and child with you, and you have the biggest and best pistol, and you know how to use it, get your wife and child out of there. That's your number one duty to your family.
That's right.
Get them out of there. If you happen to be alone, single, well, let's say have a wife and child, but they're not with you, you need to be thinking in advance, should I be risking my life when I have a wife? Am I the breadwinner? Do I have enough insurance, etc.? If you've worked through all that, even if you're terrified and you've got let's say a semi-auto that holds 16, 18 rounds, you happen to have that extra magazine, just firing where the terrorists are holed up, it could keep them pinned down for 5 to 10 minutes very easily. That's enough time for the police or the SWAT team or whoever's going to respond to get there and give you some help, or obviously take over, which is what you want them to do. Obviously, if you're more skilled than that, whoever you can shoot helps. We were talking about why doesn't Europe do anything? They have been conditioned to be sheep. They've been conditioned. They've been disarmed, first of all. They've been conditioned to don't fight, run and hide. And
we're civilized, don't you know?
Yeah, and it's amazing when you consider what they accomplished. I mean, that whole continent, maybe it's because of what they accomplished, was drenched in blood. And now, I still remember, I think it was 2 years ago, there were two or three, I think it was three servicemen. I think it was a mixed group. There was a couple of Navy guys, maybe an Army guy, on a French train. And one or two Muslim terrorists took over the train, 2 AKs. So it wasn't an overwhelming force. And before it was over, these two servicemen, 3 servicemen, they had grabbed those AKs from those guys before they knew what happened. And the people on the train were just almost mad, angry. How dare you risk our lives by disarming those people? And he said they were swinging those guns around. They didn't have control over their own weapons. It was obvious they were amateurs. And, we took the shot and we got them. But they've just been trained, to listen to the authorities. And, there's a theory that people with hyperactivity, ADD, those are the ones that couldn't sit still in Europe, and they came to the United States. Number one, we know a lot of the first child, because of the laws of primogeniture, inherited by law in England the mansion, the estate, etc. So he's not about to leave. So the second, third, fourth child would leave. But because people that are hyper, that want to roam, they don't want to sit there and be a farmer, they want to explore. And that's actually a theory that's been written up, because a theory's a theory. It's never going to be proven, but it makes a lot of sense. And then when you get to this country, the people that were more hyper than most, they moved south at first, across the Appalachians, and et cetera. Well, let's take, let's see, our next caller would be Larry.
Okay.
I got a question for the judge.
Yeah. Hey, Larry.
I went to court about 14 years ago for a domestic violence charge.
Yeah.
And what had happened, the young lady during that time slapped me, and I slapped her back.
Okay.
But when I went to court, the judge told, say, everybody that wanted to plead guilty, just go ahead on and plead guilty with guilt when you most likely your father go to class, and that's it.
Did you have a lawyer, Larry?
I beg pardon?
Did you have a lawyer?
No, I did.
Okay.
We were supposed to plead guilty, and me and probably about 10 or 15 more other people or more pleaded guilty. So once we did that, I went to class and everything. But what I was trying to find out, would that affect me from getting, or stop me from getting a pistol permit?
No. And I'll tell you what, even if you were convicted of, let's say, some type of domestic violence, misdemeanor domestic violence, you didn't have a lawyer, and so that is not you're not prohibited, a prohibited person under either the federal law or the state law from having a gun. Now, the records may need to be straightened out. You may need to file for a permit and be denied and take an appeal on that. But you can get the records. Was the court here in Alabama?
Right.
Okay.
Yep, here in Alabama, downtown Mobile.
Yeah. You can get the records, the certified records from that court. It'll show you don't have a lawyer, and you can get it straight out. But that's a requirement. You have to have had a lawyer, and you have to have filled out a form that says that, I don't have a lawyer. I'm pleading guilty knowingly, intelligently. Did you actually plead guilty, or was it nolprost after you did all that?
I pleaded guilty to it once the judge told everybody just to come up to plead guilty. The ones that wanted to go to trial on it to remain seated.
Yeah.
They told us to get in this line over here for the ones that pleaded guilty and just go ahead on.
Sounds like one of the city courts. Sounds like one of the city courts, huh?
Right, one of the city courts.
Yeah. I think you're going to be all right, but you may have to go through that route I just mentioned.
Okay, matter of fact, the young lady that slapped me, what she slapped me for was about another lady. Matter of fact, I'm getting married to her now for about 16 years.
Oh, well, I was going to say, I don't think she's a lady if she slapped you, but I better not.
Yeah, she slapped me because I was over there talking to another lady at the time, and she walked up and, boy, she laid it on me.
Well, you have to watch that kind of behavior.
Yeah, that's right.
And with my reaction, your reaction, quick reflexes, that's what happened. But when the police officer came out, I guess I imagine by me hitting a lady, he took me to jail.
Well,
he asked me not to do it, and I told him, I said, well, she slapped me, I slapped her back.
Yeah.
You put your hands behind your back and you're arrested.
That's what kind of generally happens. Let me take this next call, Larry. Thank you so much, and give us a report back on that, all right? John, you're on there from Mobile.
Hey, buddy. Listen, I was listening to you talking about the Muslims and any situation dealing with a family. And people in our country, they've got to start thinking the right way. It's not safe like it used to be. It's dangerous out there.
Right.
And the whole thing about where the court system is concerned, don't worry about it, because you're just going to have to deal with it when the time comes. I'd much rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
You're exactly.
Whatever it takes to take care of my family and people need to be taken care of, I'm going to do it. And
Amen.
I think if people are going to have to learn to just grow what they need to be a man and stand up and do what has to be done when it has to be done, because too long we've just sat back and let politicians run it, and
that's what happened in Katrina.
Made that we shouldn't be held on to anyway because we've allowed it.
That's what happened in Katrina. Everybody was so used to the government doing everything for them that they just sat there and, hey, why didn't the government come pick me up in a limo and take me out of town? Because it's your business to decide whether you need to leave or not and get out. Right. Yeah, you're exactly right.
One thing I'd like to know, I know y'all teach guns.
Yeah.
Teach people how to shoot them. What about other things like using other equipment, ways of, like the FBI, they used to teach the police coming in, they teach them stick training, how to use a billy club, how to handle it, things. Do y'all have programs that teaches people how to do things? I know I won't.
You talking about non-lethal?
I do know ways. I know more ways to kill a man than he knows how to think when it comes to using equipment available to you.
Yeah.
A lot of people need to learn that.
You're right. Hey, keep listening, and I'll give everybody a report on that. We're up against a hard break, all right? Take care. We'll be back after the top of the hour with Hour 2 of Armed Alabama. All right, welcome to Hour 2 of Armed Alabama. This is Judge Rusty Johnston, and I'm flying without a co-host tonight as Adam Strange is caught up at work. This is the show where we talk about pistols, revolvers, shotguns, rifles, ammunition, training, and attacks on our God-given right to protect ourselves and our families. You'll get no Marxism here, no PC, no progressivism, and some topics may not be suitable for the delicate flowers out there. Now, if you're looking for NPR's All Things Considered, you're tuned to the wrong place, turn your dial way over to the left, over towards Radio Beijing. Now, a couple things, so let me go over real quickly before I grab a telephone call. If you're interested in the Civil War, American Civil War, war between the states, or the real name is War of the Rebellion, which nobody knows that, or not many, there will be a first meeting of the Civil War Roundtable, Mobile Civil War Roundtable. And that will be at University of South Alabama Cafeteria Conference Room, and that's in their USA Student Center. And that is on Monday, June 19th at 5:30. And from 5:30 to 6:15, that's dinner and fellowship. 6:15 it starts. The speaker starts at 6:20, and the speaker will be speaking about secession, history and legality of secession from 1794 to today. And the speaker is none other than yours truly. And the reason it has 1794 in there is that is the first instance where two United States senators brought up, and they were from the North, brought up to a senator from Virginia. And keep in mind, this was in Washington's second term. Yeah. They said, listen, Senator Taylor, this isn't going well. The South has different interests than we do in the North. Why don't we just call it quits now? Well, we won't have any trouble. We can go ahead and break the Union up. And
saved a lot of lives.
Everybody can go their own way. Yeah. And that John Taylor of Carolina, he wrote those notes down. They weren't found for about 75 years because James Madison, who he reported to, put them in his private papers. But it's interesting that obviously 1860 and 61 wasn't the first instance of, they called it disunion back then. It came up periodically. And
one more time, Judge, when and where is the round table going to be?
That is Monday, June 19th, and that's at 5:30, University of South Alabama Cafeteria Conference Room. Mm-hmm. That's, of course, on the USA campus, West Mobile.
And that's open to anybody?
Yeah, open to anybody. Of course, it's open even if you're not interested in the Civil War, I guess.
I mean, if you're a Northern sympathizer, you can still come in.
Oh yeah, sure. That's what makes it interesting. And I tell you, as typical, I have overworked this where it could be in a book, but it'll be interesting. You don't need to do anything other than just show up. You don't need to make reservations or anything like that. And I want to answer one question. We got a question in that asks about carrying a firearm in your boat. And so I'll break it down in two parts. In the waters of the state of Alabama, you don't need a permit. You don't need because you don't need anything to do that. Don't need permission from anyone. Now, do you need a permit or a license to carry them after you get 3 miles out in the Gulf where it becomes federal waters, assuming you're operating a pleasure craft, and this isn't a commercial, you're not operating a charter or something like that. Once again, no, you don't need anything. I would just recommend stainless steel or putting it in some type of bag, maybe with those desiccant capsules, so keep the moisture off of it. Get in international waters. Well, by definition, there's international law, and no, you don't need anything for that.
And Judge, would for the guys working offshore on the oil rigs, I guess that would depend on their employer, wouldn't it?
Well, it would. It would. a good site that has a nice article about this, because I wanted to refer you to someplace, is the professional www.professionalmariner, like you're a mariner.com, and you can go to the December January 2014 edition that has a nice write-up about it, because if you're a merchant or a commercial carrier, there are certain things you need to do, and it'll tell you about it there. Let's go ahead. We got a few people piled up, and Dennis is next, up in Atmore. Hey, Dennis.
Yeah, I'm trying to get in touch with NPR Radio. Is this it?
Not even close.
No, and we need to defund them, by the way.
Hey, Judge, appreciate y'all taking my call.
Yeah.
Listen, I do have a question, and I'll ask you, and then I'll let you answer it. You know, there's a lot out there today about the USCCA, the insurance they offer for, you know, if you are involved in a self-defense shooting, they provide you with some type of legal counsel and insurance. Even the NRA itself does. And I guess what my question is all of that necessary? You know, being we have.
Well, here's a better question. Does it even give you what you think it's giving you? I can address that. In Alabama and in most states, you're charged with committing what civil law calls an intentional tort, and it's an impossibility to be insured for an intentional tort. So most of those policies, the NRA for one, says if you win, we reimburse you up to X amount of dollars for your attorney's fees, expert witness fees. If you lose, guess what? You go to jail, and they don't reimburse you anything. Right. Just about every one of those policies is something similar to that. There's one of them, and I'm hesitant to call names because I've got a chart somewhere, that is just, well, it's a group of law firms that have just contracted with one of the organizations to defend people. Well, that's as good as, and I checked one of the law firms out, and I just wouldn't bet my life on them. So is it, you know, you can get a pretty good gold-plated defense in this state. I'm going to put it high for $25,000. I mean, that's money. The odds are you're not going to be charged. I don't know that I ever saw in 18 years let's say a homeowner type person, you know, that doesn't, rather than a thug selling dope, charged with shooting someone in self-defense.
Okay.
You know, but if it happens, it happens. But, you know, it's one of those things I would probably be, and I am personally, self-insured for that.
Right.
So,
well, and it goes back to what your other caller says. You do what you have to do to say, you know, protect your family.
Yeah.
But I guess my question is, you know, with NRA as a member, you know, I have my guns insured.
Well,
because it's a free offering. But when you start to drill down to the different levels of insurance, self-protection, and all that, even up to, I think, $1 million, you know, it's almost mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Really,
now we have, like, as instructors, we have insurance up to, I think it's $500,000, $1 million, in case somebody gets hurt when we're instructing them, or we tell you something and you do it, we tell you incorrectly, and you do that and you sue us. But that's a different matter. We're talking about if you've just done, you know, if you just blown somebody, shot through the front door and somebody knocked on it, you cannot buy insurance for that kind of thing. And that's what they're not telling you. And so the money that you spend, most of these are a couple of $100 a year, as I recall.
Exactly.
If you were disciplined enough to stick that into an account, in a few years you'd have, you know, enough money to make a good start on defending yourself, and you could pick your lawyer, which is pretty important.
Well, Judge, I appreciate your advice, and I appreciate what all you and Adam do, and Charlie, Chase, Phil, and all of them. We really appreciate.
Well, thank you so much.
Program, and thanks a lot.
Yeah, take care.
And Judge, I want to say to Justin and Rodney out there hanging on out in the wings on the telephone, we do see you on the list here, and If you can just hang on, we will get to you.
Sure will. We got enough time for our next break, Mr. Producer?
Yeah, it's time for break.
We're stepping into a break right now. We'll be back after the break with more calls on Armed Alabama. I would hate to have Liam Nielsen after me.
I'd hate to get that phone call.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was in Paris, and that was pretty frightening when and he was some type of creep that got his daughter. I can't think of the name of it, but it was a pretty good movie. Let's go ahead and take our next caller, and that would be Dennis.
Yep.
All right,
is Dennis gone? I think so.
Oh, we got something going on at Atmore up there. It might have gotten when you get on top of that telephone pole and the lightning starts hitting, you got to just get off. Let's take Dustin and Orange Beach.
Go ahead, Dustin.
You there, Bill?
Yeah, we're there.
Hey, Mr. Johnson, good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
For taking my call. Hey, we're actually traveling. I thought you'd be able to answer this a lot faster than what Google would be able to.
Okay, I don't know about that, but we'll try.
We're traveling to Florida, and we're actually flying into Fort Myers. But we're staying a few weeks in San Marcos Island in Florida, near the Keys.
Yeah.
And rather than going through the rigmarole of trying to check my firearm on the plane and all that jazz, I was just going to mail my carry pistol down. I've got a little Springfield XDS, 6-round magazine, nothing crazy, but I just want to take it with me.
And see, that sounds smart.
But have it there when I get there.
You actually aren't allowed to do. Sir, you can't mail it. You can't even FedEx it unless you're going to FedEx it to a dealer down there. Just go to the hassle. Go to the airline website, and they list the procedure. It's not very difficult. But I know what you mean. You don't want to be naked, so to speak, down there without your firearm.
Well, and I also didn't want to be that guy walking into the airport with my, my weapon and then handing it over, letting them make sure that the magazine's unloaded and all that kind of stuff.
Well, what you do, you'll have it already in a lock box. Nobody will know what it is, and just whatever airline you're going to, they all have instructions about what to do. Yeah, you don't want to go in obviously within
Delta, so wish me luck.
Yeah, good luck, and I would do what you're doing too. Yeah, I would take it, but I'd take it on the plane with me.
Yeah, just don't lock down the airport for hours and hours and hours.
But it's pretty common to do what you're doing, so they know how to handle it.
Okay. It was a different procedure. We just went to New York, and there was no flying in with it into New York.
Well, see, New York is just like no fire. Well, you got to have a permit to even possess one. Florida's different.
I have a concealed carry for Mississippi, and I think it's reciprocal with Alabama.
It is, and it is with Florida too. So,
but it's not with New York.
No,
imagine that.
That's the difference. So you'll be in good shape.
So I'll just take it through with me on the plane.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and that's one for everybody else.
Check that
website. Every airline's website has instructions, and generally it's putting it in. And I don't mean the really cheap Plano lock boxes. I mean, the one may cost you, $70 or something. The hard, secure box, lock it up, unloaded, no ammunition in there. You can buy your ammo down there, in fact.
Judge, there was a text that came in amongst many, and by the way, a reminder, you can text to the same number as you call in at 343-0106. In your opinion, Judge, about the Alabama CCL law, he says, I also have a Texas CCL permit which requires classroom and range training. And then he's saying in Alabama, you can get a CCL or buy a pistol and get a CCL for $25.
And you do not have to have any training in the state of Alabama. And we came fairly close to not even having to have any type of permit whatsoever.
What is CCL?
Well, it's basically what we call a pistol permit. Some call it a concealed weapons permit. They're different names, but that's, I'm sure, what he's referring to. Hang on, Mike. What was our text earlier? The first one, Chase?
You got about the maritime?
No, it was one other than that. Oh, how long after being convicted of a felony do I have to wait before I can have my right to own a firearm or carry a firearm restored? I think you sent it back to him. I would urge anybody, I can go through that, but go to the December 28th Armed Alabama show that's on our archives. We had a retired probation officer, Jody Highfield, on that. He explained what you'd need to do. But as to length of time, there's no particular length of time. It's difficult to do, but some of them are more difficult than others. If you were convicted of manslaughter, that's going to be much more difficult than a theft second case. But generally, you need to serve all your time, and that means probation. And I would say if you were put on 5 years probation, you probably need to wait another 5 years. I mean, it doesn't hurt to try, but I think you're wasting your time if you're not employed. You've spent another 5 years off probation, you're doing fine. You can get your voting rights restored a lot quicker. All right, let's take Mike next from Grand Bay, the only place named after a bay that doesn't have a bay there.
That's right.
That'd be a good sales technique, you know. Come to beautiful Grand Bay and buy a lot.
All righty. I do have something to say.
All right.
Going along with the politically correct environment of the world out here, okay, I'm on YouTube. I've got a channel.
Yeah.
And I am not politically correct, but I don't necessarily talk against anybody else's beliefs or anything. But I hear here lately, I've been worried about YouTube because YouTube has been
censoring,
defunding any channel that a lot of YouTubers make their living doing this, and I was thinking about getting mine built up enough to do that.
Or it just covers their costs so they can stay on, yeah.
But what's happening is anybody that professes, and I do believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, but anybody that professes any faith in God or whatever, and anybody that shows any videos concerning like the using of firearms,
demonetized, I know.
And it bothers me because I love to go on there and watch people like Hickok 45 is one of my favorite guys.
I like him, and I'm afraid some of those guys,
and he don't do any harm in this world.
I think he does a lot of good. He's safe. He's, you know.
Yes, sir. But it really bothers me, the politically correct.
Oh, it's incredible
thing going on, because advertisers are absolutely dropping the monetization of channels that they deem as against their core beliefs.
You know, they are, but Google kind of prompted that.
Yeah, Mike, Google is the one who's in control of YouTube. They own it, and they kind of have final say in everything that happens. So you're going to see a lot of that happen, and it's a trend. It comes and goes. But what you do see is a lot of the YouTubers are now pushing Patreon, much like we are. So it's a great way for you to get your funds if you're looking for it. If you had the following,
right.
You don't have to worry about that.
I'm going to try to build my views up. See, I just started a new channel just a couple of months ago.
Why don't you give us a shout out? Tell us the channel so some of our listeners can go to it. If you don't,
what's your channel?
Well, I'd rather not say.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to give
because they can figure out who I am.
Okay,
and I don't want any I don't want anybody trying to do something against my.
I got you.
Or whatever.
I got you. I just want.
But anyway,
I bet you if you had a channel that had a bunch of.
I do have a channel, but I'm anonymous on the channel.
I got you.
I don't use my voice, and I don't show my face on my channel. On the new channel, I used to on another channel.
Yeah, there are a lot of crazies out there.
And it's all this politically correct mess going on is the reason I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, it's a shame that we've come to that place where you can't openly and freely express yourself.
Mike, I bet you if you had photographs on your channel of devil worships and all that, they wouldn't demonetize you.
Well, there's a certain belief out there in the world that's causing more trouble in this world and that is Islam. I hate to say it.
That's what I said in the first hour. I don't know if you listened to it.
Yes, sir, I heard it. But
and had it go after the nest.
Funded, do they?
Well, one last note is just do what you're going to do.
Got to step into a break.
Alrighty,
Thank you so much.
Get off here. So, alrighty, y'all. Good luck.
Care.
I enjoy your show very much.
Thank you so much. I think we need his methods. That's Captain Widmark from Fringe.
Can we take a vote? I'd vote yes.
I do too. This is Armed Alabama. We're down to the final stretch, and one of our sponsors is the Ace Hardware stores in Spring Hill and Creola and out on Moffett Road. And one of the things they sell there, because we're into security, is this padlock by Master Lock. And it's odd looking. And the reason I like it is, and now I haven't given it the full test yet, but on my smaller bolt cutter, it actually broke the bolt cutter.
Wow.
Now, it was the one that, it's not the bigger one that I normally use, but I figured it's either going to break the lock, which is, I cannot remember it. You think this is fairly expensive, and I'm just going to throw out a number. Let's say $20. I'm not
Is that
sure.
an outdoor lock also?
Yeah, it is. I think it is. It's made out of, it's probably stainless, but not the what they call it, the shaft. Stainless is actually a softer metal, but
it doesn't rust.
Yeah, you want one thing. You want to, if you don't need that much, they measure it. If you need something smaller, if you can get what you want in there, I use wire rope or cable because it's almost impossible to cut rather than chain, unless you buy the tempered chain like for pulling logs through the woods or skidding. That's difficult to get through, but you want to get something, anything's penetrable. I'm sure if you worked on this with a hacksaw for half an hour and had oil, you could cut through it. But you're not going to get through it with a $19 bolt cutter. But if you don't need that much room, get it smaller so the tool can't get in there. But they have these at all three of those Ace Hardware stores, in addition to anything else security-wise you're going to need. You need to replace your hinges with hinge screws with 3-inch hinge screws. The ones that are in there are probably 1.5 inches. All of them can take care of every one of your needs. If you're like me, you probably just like to wander around, but the people in there, in contrast to some of the big box stores, they know what they're doing and they know where things are in the store. So if you're in a rush, you can get in and out. If you're like me and just like hardware stores, you can go and just wander around and see all the various products. Another one that's a must is the Master. I know they sell that brand, the Master brand. It's a it's a brace that you put under your door on the inside. So if you're at a hotel or even your bedroom, that if someone tries to force an entry, it's like having a pipe there between your doorknob and the floor, but it creates a wedge. Yeah, eventually somebody can get in, but anything you can do to slow them down, the better. So,
and Judge, doesn't the Creola Ace Hardware also have lumber?
Yeah, they actually they have a. Unfortunately, it's a warehouse type setup that you don't have to go. Unlike some stores, if you need one board, let's say a Home Depot, that's not a problem. You need a number. You're getting a little old like me. It's a workout to buy. Gosh, let's say 22 2x4s.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize what a workout it was.
Try packing those in a Toyota Camry.
Yeah, so that's right. So you don't need to fool with that. You can go to the Creola Ace, and they'll get the forklift and bring the lumber down for you. Everybody's going to be wanting plywood. Buy it now. Don't wait till we have a hurricane warning to buy plywood. Just go ahead and buy it right now.
Yeah, we're day 6 into the hurricane
season.
Yeah,
absolutely. Now, I want to give one of our other sponsors. If you're thinking about, one of our callers mentioned non-lethal weapons. The non-lethal weapon that we recommend, and we've taught a class in it, but frankly, there's just not a lot of need for it or demand for it, but we'll teach them as necessary, the Mace pepper spray gun. And the various reasons people don't want a gun, can't have a gun. Mace brand, and that's the brand, but it's pepper spray. And this looks like they've actually got a new model, and I hadn't checked it with McCoy's yet to see if they have it in, but either one takes a canister, kind of like a flare gun, and it will fire the pepper spray around 20 feet, depending on the wind conditions. And that has the same reach as a taser does, but unlike a taser, you've got about 8 to 10 2 to 3 second squirts of pepper spray. You can practice with a water canister. And when you have that in a holster as opposed to, hey, I don't know where it is in my car, you can get to it real quick. Everybody ought to have one as a part of their continuum of force. If deadly force isn't called for, but you don't want to get in a fist fight restraining somebody, you've got the pepper spray there. McCoy's is the only store in Mobile, to my knowledge, that has, and I've looked, that has the Mace pepper spray gun. But for all your firearms needs, whether you need a gunsmith, pistol, fine shotgun, or just an off-the-shelf Remington, you can get it down at McCoy Outdoors. They're located in the Spring Hill Shopping Center, and that is where old K&B used to be, if y'all have been around a while, and that's on Spring Hill Avenue. We used to call it Spring Hill Avenue Extension, and that is just west of where I-65 crosses over. In that far western corner, they take up that whole end. Anything from running shoes to guns to coolers to clothes, they got it there.
Even camouflage cameras.
Oh, yeah. They got to have game cameras. Those aren't just for game. You can have them photograph people who might be in your front yard at night.
Yep.
So tell them we sent you when you get by there. And let's go ahead and take Rodney, who's calling from Atmore. What is somebody from Atmore? Atmorite? Atmorian? What?
It's Atmore, Alabama.
What is somebody that lives there called? I'm a Mobilian, I guess. What is somebody from Atmore called? Smart, I guess.
I guess they call Atmore, and I'm not real sure myself.
Could be an Atmoron.
It's a good possibility. I guess it could be.
Anyhow, you're having trouble with getting a pistol? What?
Yes, sir. I bought a pistol online. And the problem happened once I got there at the store burning Atmore that I was going to go to, whatever, to pick it up, they would not release it to me because they told me because I had gotten in trouble 25 years ago and I got put on probation for a year. I did my probation and that was all good, but I had no trouble buying a shotgun, but they won't let me have a pistol. And I went to a police station and got my fingerprints redone just to make sure that it was the right one because they told me it could be a mix-up.
Right.
And I'm still having trouble. I can't get a permit and I can't pick up a pistol, but I can do a shotgun.
What were you convicted of? Do you know?
I'm sorry?
What were you convicted of? Do you know?
Yes, sir. It was, like I said, 25 years ago. I was working at a place and I was being young and dumb, and I removed some company property that I shouldn't have done, and I got convicted of stealing company property, and that's what it was.
Well, it was a felony theft offense. You think?
I don't know if I don't think it was felony, but like I said, it wasn't nothing. Like I said, the value of the stuff wasn't maybe $100, but that I took. Maybe less, but anyway, that's what it was. It was I pled guilty, whatever, and that's pretty much it.
See, you might be caught up on. Alabama has a law called certain persons prohibited from having a pistol, which I can't get to quick enough. But it will. And Chase, if you'll remind me, can you get on Facebook? Do you have access to Facebook?
Yes, I do have access to it. I just not right now.
Well, just wait a day or two and look on our Facebook page. I'll list the offenses that Alabama law bars people from having a pistol under, and that might be it. And I think you're going to have to go through the process with the Pardon and Parole Board, and there's one in Monroeville would be the closest to you, and I think that's right. But anyway, and try to get your rights restored if that's what it is. But let me look up and see the crimes. Look on that Facebook page. That's Armed Alabama Radio FM Talk 1065. Look on that, and I'll post what the what that code section is and what those offenses were.
And if you don't see us post it soon, just send us a message. Just go ahead and ask us, and that way it'll give us a reminder.
I have no trouble with ever getting a shotgun or anything like that.
That's what I'm saying. Is certain persons prohibited from having a pistol? It doesn't prohibit somebody from having a shotgun.
Right.
It could be. It could very well be that.
Okay, but thank you so much for your time.
Sure.
You know, Judge, that sounds really kind of stupid for somebody that just served probation.
Well,
and then 25 years later, you can't go online and buy a pistol and then have it delivered to a store and then you can't pick it up.
And for everybody's benefit, when you do that, you're not. I mean, he's buying it online, but he's going through a federal firearms dealer, the same background check like you would be going with anybody. But obviously there's a problem because he can't get a pistol permit from the sheriff. So something's causing a problem, and he said he didn't have a problem. So I suspect that's what it is if he said it was theft.
Could he go to a gun show and buy a pistol?
But if it was a felony theft, the feds have a general prohibition against all felonies.
Yeah.
So, and if it's that, he still has to go through and get an Alabama. If he gets his rights restored in the state of Alabama, it carries over. That's the punishment. See, in England, you were declared civilly dead when you were convicted of a felony. You couldn't own property. You couldn't inherit property. You were dead to the law. And this is a remnant of that. So, like one of our callers, think good and hard before you plead guilty to anything. We got to step into a break, folks.
Quick, Judge.
Yep.
You were mentioning the pepper spray gun.
Yep.
And I know we don't have one to show, but they were asking about a price range for that.
Around, I think, $30, $30 to $40.
Well, thank you.
Yep. We'll be right back.
Weren't you in that movie, Judge?
I was in that movie. I was his stand-in.
Stand-up double?
Yep. Somebody asked a few weeks ago about home carbines. It may have been on our – mention this. If you were invited 2 weeks ago to our private Armed Alabama chat, you'll be invited again. You need to get that link. That is Thursday night, 7 o'clock. If you want to be invited, there are a couple of different ways. You can be an advertiser to the show. And this is kind of for right now. You can be a subscriber to our YouTube channel. Or if you want to be kind of invited forever, you can give $5 a month through Patreon. You can go to our Facebook page and get that link. And it's a 1-hour private deal where y'all can ask me questions, and I'll respond. I'm on camera, and y'all are texting in the questions.
You were surprised by the response.
Yeah, I was.
This Thursday, right?
And I was surprised it worked. It worked very good. Well, now I'm holding up an M1 carbine. Now, this is one of the ones that was made, probably in the late 60s. It's not one from the war era, but, it's fairly authentic. If I was getting one, I'd get a brand new one. The reason I had this one is my daughter's not a real gun person, but black guns especially tend to scare her. Well, this is nice, pretty, wood and all. And notice I've got the chamber flag, which means it can't be loaded because the chamber that goes in it.
What caliber is that, Judge?
That is a .30 carbine. And
that's a nice-looking gun, and it looks like it'd be short enough that you could use it indoors if you wanted to.
That's the thing I like about it. Now, a friend of ours said one time, when I was in Vietnam, I shot a Viet Cong 14 times with one of these, and it didn't stop him. And I said, do you mind if I shoot you once with this one? And let's see if it does. He didn't take me up on that. But in contrast to a Full Metal Jacket, Hornady now makes these rounds in their critical defense round, and I don't know if that's the has the little plastic insert inside of the hollow point, and it's about the same energy as, let's say, a .40 caliber. But generally, you're trying to poke holes in people and either make them bleed out or shooting them in the central nervous system, the medulla, and making their brain shut down. All else fails, shoot them in the pelvis, and the skeletal system will collapse.
Well, how heavy is that gun? Because it doesn't look terribly.
It's not, probably 5.5, 6 pounds. Not very heavy at all.
And for those of you who are not watching on Facebook, you don't really know what the gun looks like.
Well, they can go back and watch it. One thing I did too, just because a lot of people get turned off of guns by recoil or kick. I even ground down a Limb Saver recoil pad, which it wasn't really that much of a pain, but to put one on it and grinding it down maybe is, because this is very small buttstock. And I ground it down, and they advertise, I think it takes 40% of the recoil away. I would say 25%.
There's no extra bullets hidden in there, are there?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I even put a laser, because I want to give her every advantage. It's a house gun on the front. Let's see if we can get that.
Yeah, we see the red light.
And so, anyway, that's what we got there. And I might say again, I have it in a rifle rack on the wall of her room. So it hadn't fallen down under the bed. It is in a rack, so quick access.
And like we discussed on that stream, these are just what you would recommend for home defense, because it's why?
Well, I'm trying to get people away. Number one, there are more points of contact on that gun than there is on a pistol. There's no recoil as opposed to a shotgun. A shotgun, typical 12-gauge shotgun, is going to have 6 to 10 times the recoil of that gun. And the sound is going to be even worse than that. It's going to be a foot longer probably than that gun there is. And if you think you can just point a shotgun generally at somebody, you hadn't tested yours, because at 15 feet or so, which is going to probably be the vicinity you'll be shooting somebody, you're going to get a pattern kind of like a coffee cup saucer. And so you got to aim.
You do have to aim. And contrary to some belief, just the sound of racking a shotgun will not scare off an intruder.
It will not. All it says is, I'm over here with an unloaded shotgun.
Yeah, here's where I am. Follow
he may
the
just
sound.
shoot at you. He'll know it's loaded when there are 8 or 9 pellets traveling at him at 1,400 feet per second. Also, 30 rounds of ammo with this shotgun. You might have at the most 6 to 8 to 9. All right, let's see if we can get Mike on. Mike from Mobile.
Hello there.
How are you, Mike?
I'm doing okay. Got a question for you.
Yeah.
Based on the comments from the FBI and the Homeland Security that we have active investigations in every state now, in every state here in the United States on these terroristic threats, how many do you think are in our area? You know,
one side of me says they got to be pretty stupid if they haven't. I mean, I can just kind of look at things since I manage the court police, and I'll just give you one. I mean, why don't people go up to gas stations and put a zip tie on when they're pumping gas and throw it on the ground and light it and blow up the place when it's crowded?
Just don't give them any ideas.
That's just one. That's a small one. I mean, there are a lot of ways you could cause trouble. Why haven't they? They're either not here or they're really stupid. And I suspect a lot of it's an exaggeration to justify their budget. That's kind of my thought.
But there could be a jihadist in East Bruton. I mean, you never know.
There could be. But, we really have – the only attacks that we really know they foiled since 9/11 are ones that the FBI has been involved with. They've kind of prompted them to do the attack. So, I hope I'm right. Obviously it doesn't matter whether I'm right or wrong. They're going to keep doing what they're going to do. But, there's an incentive for the firemen to say, well, it's going to be a really bad fire season, you need to do this and that, or for the weatherman to say, the hurricane man to say, there are going to be a record number of hurricanes this year, there would be an incentive for me to say crime is out of control. It's actually not. It's not at an all-time low, but fairly close to an all-time low since we started counting.
Hey, Judge, can I ask Mike a quick question? Yeah. Mike, would you say in the last year or two that you're going out of your way to pay more attention to your surroundings than you used to?
Well, I always pay attention. I've been in law enforcement for 20-something years.
Well, I mean, I found out, like, if I'm at Walmart, we're loading groceries in the car, I'm looking around the parking lot.
Walmart's like Mecca, though.
Well, I'm just using that as an example, and I think people should be paying more attention.
Well, Mike, let me ask you, what do you think? So, I mean, you're out there.
I don't know, because I don't know. I feel like the FBI and the government agencies are not sharing the information with local people like I have experienced all my career.
Right. So, they would always share those, I can't think of what they're called, the bulletins.
BOLAs?
Well, they were a step below that, but they would say, so-and-so activity, criminal, let's say there was a criminal gangs are operating or flim-flam artists, and you're not getting any of that about this, are you?
Right. And you know as well as I do that the best people to see and say something is your local.
Absolutely.
Because you guys know the town better, too.
95% of law enforcement is local law enforcement. Absolutely.
And it's easier for us to keep up with them.
Yeah. So I think you kind of suspect the same thing I do. So I hope we're right, but, because I don't want us to turn into a police state. I think the simplest thing is, let's close the borders.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Up against the end of the show. Thank you for calling, Mike. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And, Judge, do we have a quick time for a re-rundown of our sponsors?
Well, not based on what you just gave me, but I do want to remind everybody, hey, there's an event at Matt Green's office on the 20th of June, the Federalist Society at 5:30. Everybody's invited. It's a physician named Howard Root.
And how he took on the FDA.
Yeah, and he's going to explain how the FDA almost destroyed him by their overzealous prosecution of him, harassment. So on the 20th of June at 5:30, Matt Green's office on Government Street. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Remember our chat Thursday night, 7 o'clock.